Hello all, I am finally back with more branded. I don't know how I got known as one of the branded people, but I guess that's what I sort of first started doing whenever it became popularized first of all. I obviously waited to do a branded deck profile for reasons that you can see right now on the screen with my poor financial decisions, but we'll get to that whenever we get there. So here we are finally with my take on branded with post-Photon Hypernova. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. A lot of this is going to be mostly standard, but I'll just explain any weird things whenever I get to it. Something that should be very standard is the triple Alibur. That's no explanation needed. The one tragedy and the one ad lib, this has kind of become standard now. Some people are opting to play more tragedy, but you just don't need it. It honestly doesn't really come up as much. It's just to get the Alibur if you don't have it already, to get the ad lib for you to have more extension later on if you need it. So this has become pretty much standard. I do play triple Albaz. A lot of people have cut it down to 2, but I found that just having 3 can just be really handy. It's a decent normal summon in and of itself. It can help break a board. It's if you have to pitch one and then you search Cartesia later in the combo, then you don't have to go out of your way to try and leave Albaz in the graveyard with another portion of the combo, because Albaz in grave is a lot better with Cartesia. So 3 just feels a lot more comfortable, especially with Kashtira milling out your deck. I just felt a lot more comfortable having 3 of them to be able to do that. The triple Mercurier, we're playing Allure of Darkness in this deck, as we'll get to later on, and just Allure may as well be Pot of Greed in this deck, and then Banishing Mercurier is just really good as well. You have a lot of other ways to do that as well to extend and get Albaz or other things that mention it. So Mercurier has just become a lot more insane. 2 is standard. 3 I think is better, especially if you're playing the Allure package, so I just recommend doing that. One of my poor financial decisions, getting the Starlight Cartesia, I just had to do it. This is one of my favorite decks of all time, so I had to go max rarity on what I could. So here we are. Just the one Cartesia. You can play 2, but you get this to your hand consistently enough, so I really don't think you need to waste the space on 2 of them. That's up to your own personal choice, but I just decided to go with the 1. I do have the Albion as well to foolish the just anything you need based on your hand in the moment. Spriggan's Kit for more extension and just another consistency piece. Bystials, the 3 Libellion, the 3 Saranir, and I do decide to play the 1 Druid's Worm. This honestly is optional. I just feel like this comes up enough to still warrant it. I know people are only playing 2 Libellion, but I mean, you almost want to see it in your opening hand every time because it gets you Saranir. You can pitch the Saranir off of another portion of your combo to be able to foolish whatever you need. You can get your Mercurier into the grave to banish it and trigger that. You can get Tragedy into the grave to banish it off of the Bystial and trigger that. So Libellion is honestly just really crazy, and Saranir is now the best one. Now that Tyr really isn't around anymore, you don't really need a high Bystial count. I just do this. You can honestly cut the Druid's Worm. I just decided to play it because I think it'll come up enough to warrant it, so that's just why I'm doing that. And, I mean, playing 2 Libellion is another thing you could do. You could cut it for some other space, but I just decided to go with a 3 just because I think it just warrants being a 3 with how crazy it is and how much advantage you can get off of it. And for the last monsters, I am deciding to play 3 Ash Blossom. The reason I'm doing this is because it's just Ash is just so much generically better right now. It hits Kashtira, you can hit Theosis so that they can't do the big combo. In the Branded Mirror, you can hit Branded Fusion. And then, spoiler, we are playing Crossout in the side because I would, in fact, like to play the game. And that is it for all of the monsters. Go ahead and put those on off to the side. On to the spells. A lot of this is pretty standard in and of itself, as per usual. If you're no explanation needed. No explanation needed. We do play the 1 branded red and the 1 branded in white. This could either be this or Theater. I just think Branded White is better now since you do end up leaving an Albaz in the grave for the Cartesia play. We followed it up with the 1 Regained and the 1 Loss. This is the best card in the deck. I don't play the Branded Beast just because I don't really see a need to, because you're not going to be setting that off of Libellion anymore. You're most likely going to be want to set this. And honestly, you want to set this more too because you banish stuff a lot more. You can put it back and draw a card. It helps you get more advantage. And also, it just feels bad drawing the branded beast. I'd rather it be anything else, because sure, you can set it and have another disruption on your turn, but I mean, one more pop on the field isn't going to be as good as all the other crazy disruptions you can put on the board. And just, I would rather use that space for other tech choices, other consistency, and in testing, it's just worked out so far, and I think that that's fine not playing the beast. The other things we go with, like I said, we're playing the Allure. I mean, this may as well just be Pot of Greed in the deck. It's so good. We play the Foolish for consistency. I'm not playing Gold Sark. The reason I'm doing Foolish instead is you don't just use it for Gold Sark. You really only want to be banishing Tragedy and Mercurier. With Foolish, you can send Mercurier to the grave and then banish it with a Bystial if that's your hand. You can send Tragedy to the grave and trigger it with that. You can send Sarenair to Foolish something else you need, and you can even Foolish Albaz if you don't have another way to do that, so that you can special Cartesia. So there's just I just found that there's so much more utility with Foolish. I know people are playing Foolish and Gold Sark, but I decided to not do that, just to go with some other choices. Like, one of the other things I decided to go with is to main deck Called By. Since Ash does hurt you pretty badly, you just want to stop that so you can have a chance to play the game with that. And last card, I play the Branded Retribution. That's pretty much standard. I don't play the Banishment, just because, again, it's not something you'd rather draw if you're going first. Going second, it does nothing for you. And I mean, in the mirror, sure, it's nice. But I mean, at that point, games 2 and 3, you're going to be digging into the side deck, and you'll have answers for that anyway. So just, no use wasting the space on it. Same thing with Super Poly. I mean, you're negging yourself to keep on fusing, and then maybe you'll be able to build a nice board off of that. It's just, I just don't think it's worth the space. And for the question of fusion deployment, I considered fusion deployment a lot, because in theory, summoning another Albaz from the deck or being able to summon a Cartesia from the deck to keep going is really nice. But for now, I kind of just want to try it without, because you have enough consistent ways to be able to keep going anyway. And, the fusion deployments instead could just be other consistency tools that help you out a lot more, like the Allures or the Bestial Count, the Ash Blossoms. Like, the only other thing I could see myself cutting for the fusion deployments is the Ash Blossoms. And I would rather have a card going second. I went back and forth as to whether or not that should be Nibiru, Ash, or anything else. But since I decided on Crossout in the side, Ash just seemed like the better way to go. And I just felt the deck was consistent enough without it. I may change my mind in the future, but that's just what I've decided to go with in the moment. To the extra deck, you play the 2 Albion. You don't really need 3. If Kashtira rips from one of them, cool, you can keep playing anyway. 1 Libellion, Kashtira, if they take this, then you lose a tiny bit of grind game, but you can honestly play the game without it, so you're fine with that. The more poor financial decisions, the 2 Mirror Jade finally got both the Starlights in. Do not do what I just did, because, yeah, goes without saying. But 2 Mirror Jade, because Kashtira, and, just good card in general. 1 Abolenitus. I see a lot of people cutting this because they just think it never comes up. But I mean, just having that to have the potential to be able to shuffle everything back and just keep going, or just be able to search a Branded Fusion on the crackback, is just really good. So I mean, I'd consider maybe cutting it or even playing a second Granganol. But for now, it just feels comfortable to play it knowing that I have it. Speaking of the Granganol, another poor financial decision, but here we stand. It's one of the new ones out of Photon Hypernova, and it's just great. Same with the Rinbrum. It's just crazy. It's no explanation needed. You really and truly only need 1 of each of these. I've considered bumping each of these up to 2 each as well, just because of how good they are. And, Kashtira ripping one of them. This single-handedly outs the Arise Heart Mind Hacker lock. So, I mean, it's just, it's just really crazy to have. I consider bumping it up to 2, but 1 feels like enough anyway. If you don't have it, you can still play the game with the rest of your extra deck. So it's, I'll revisit it as I play with the deck more, but for now, it just feels fine to have 1. I do play the Proskinian to be able to tag out into it or just hard make it. It comes up. It's big and beats over a lot of problems. It burns in time with the battle phase as well. It's just really cool. Plus, banish or summon from the grave if that ends up coming up. I decided to go with 2 Masquerade instead of the standard 1, and the reason I do that is because if you can either make 1 or 2 of them in the combo, depending on your hand, or you drop one, they out the first one, but then you break their board and you drop another in a simplified game state, that's just... People forget how oppressive this card is. Like, if you don't have a clean way to deal with it, and it's just a constant problem for you, I mean, time comes up, getting your opponent's life points down to low enough where they can't activate another card. I mean, this card is more oppressive than people think. So I think having 2 of them should still be a thing. And I could go back and revisit that and change it, but for now, 2 just feels comfortable enough. Brigran, this has become standard now. It's just, search Mercurier in the end phase sounds pretty good to me, because Mercurier just has become so much more prevalent with the new cards. It's just great. Do still play the 1 Chimera. Never felt like I needed more than this. Sometimes it felt cuttable almost, but it's just too crazy not to keep around. So still have the Chimera. And then we play the Garura and the Dragostapelia. Garura more so than a super poly target. I've just had to dump off of the Granganol just to draw another card and get more advantage. But I mean, obviously it is still there for the super poly target for those of you either maining or siding that. And then Dragostapelia, honestly, it's been coming up a lot less. I've considered cutting that, but in the mirror match with super poly, it's just too good not to run it. So I've just still had it. Extra deck. I'll show side deck, but as per usual, make of this what you will. I mean, tailor it to your local or whatever event that you're going to, and just make of that what you will. It's pretty standard by now. People either maining or siding Book of Eclipse, so just you have to have it for Kashtira. I side the Super Poly. This is either for the mirror match or for monotype decks where you can Super Poly off Garura. Never felt the need to main deck it. It felt like you were going to neg doing that. The Crossout Designator, because I would in fact like to play the game, because Ash and D-Barrier ruin your day. Spoiler alert, we do play the D-Barrier as well. We mainly do this to put this and the Crossout in, because this card's been around for too long. This card is unfair and should be banned. Like, it locks you out of an entire game mechanic, and it's just really dumb. So I do hope they address this card in the future. Like, it should have been banned a while ago, but here it is. We still have to play with it. I put this in going first because it shuts down all the decks that can't play under it, and I always side this in anyway if I'm going second along with the crossouts, because if you're allowed to play the game in this deck, then you'll be fine. So, like, as long as D-Barrier doesn't resolve, that's why I had the cross out to be able to stop the opponent's D-Barrier, hopefully being able to draw into that. But, I mean, you have to have an answer for this card, otherwise you're just not playing the game and your day is just ruined. So that's why I decided to settle on that. And the last 3 cards is evenly. It's simultaneously for back row and just for going second in general. I wanted more back row answers, but I figured that evenly would just be fine, and it doubled as a generic going second card, so it worked out well enough. And that is what I have for the deck. I think I explained everything I needed to, and just one of my favorite decks. Happy I was able to get the rarity upgrades for everything, and we'll just see how that goes for the future for me. And that's about all I got. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good rest of the day.